Peter, what do you think's really going on right now in 2023 in this economy?
Well, I think we're dealing with the consequences of, 20 years or more of reckless Fed policy. Really started in earnest uh, in 2001, 2002 timeframe when Greenspan was, at the helm and he slashed interest rates down to 1% after the dot-com bubble burst. Although the policies, predated that, during the 90s, but when we went down to 1%, that really started the housing bubble. That popped in '08, and then we went to 0% interest rates and QE following the financial crisis. So the Fed flooded the economy with inflation to paper over all these problems and bail everybody out, all the while claiming that we didn't have enough inflation because somehow these government measures showed that it was under 2%. And they claimed that 2% was their target, which was a bunch of nonsense. But they used the fact that they could pretend inflation was under 2% to claim it wasn't high enough. And then they kept printing money. Well, those consequences are now on us, right? The inflation chickens have come home to roost. And the Fed has, belatedly raised rates now. They're back at 5.25, and they expect that they can reverse 20 years of inflation with a year of rate hikes. It's not going to happen. We still have massive government spending and deficits. The Fed's balance sheet is still enormous. There's a lot of inflation already built into the pipeline. It's here for a long time. And in order to, get out in front of it and bring inflation down, we're going to have serious cuts to government spending, consumption. Everybody's going to have to start saving again and producing more and spending less. But we're not pursuing any policies that'll make that happen. But what the markets just don't understand is that the Fed can't just magically put this inflation genie back in the bottle. That it's brought a knife to an inflation gunfight, and it's going to lose. And inflation is going to be well north of 2% for the foreseeable future. And that has major implications for the bond market, stock market, the economy, the dollar, gold. Everything is going to change when that realization, finally hits.
Right. And one thing that it's very interesting that a lot of people are not talking about this. A lot of these new energy policies that are unfolding before our eyes right now are going to be extremely inflationary. As we begin to move a little bit away from fossil fuels over the coming couple of years, all those additional costs are going to get passed on to consumers, whether it be, utility bills at home, property insurance, car insurance, products and items that we buy. How do we bring inflation down in that scenario?
Well, we got to have more production and less, and less consumption. I mean, you have competing factors. You have the potential of AI that could increase productivity, but then you have government regulations and other things that will be diminishing it. So the question is, which force becomes stronger in that equation? But even if we have a big increase in productivity that overcomes the inflation, so that instead of, let's say, prices going up by 10%, they go up by 2%. That doesn't mean that inflation didn't do harm, because what that means is without all that inflation, prices would have dropped by 8%. And that is not a bad thing. I mean, the government keeps trying to claim that prices going down would be a disaster. It's for who? It's not a disaster for the consumer. He can buy more stuff. It's not even a disaster for the producer if their costs are also coming down along with their prices, because then they can do more volume. And so they can make more money selling products for less money because more people can buy them. They can sell more units.
Yeah, none of it makes any sense. They don't want prices to go down. They don't want prices to go up. They want unemployment to increase, and they want to print more money while consumers are already strapped to the teeth in debt.
Yeah, I mean, well, they're
It.
just trying to keep the air from coming out of the bubble. That's all the politicians are concerned about. And the central bankers, they're politicians too. And it's all about delaying it. It's kicking the can down the road because maybe it'll be somebody else's problem.